Welcome, mothers and others. Tonight, we're going to bring you a panel with Misty Bishop, who is running for Texas Senate District 4, which covers Conroe, the Woodlands, and eastern suburbs of Houston over Beaumont. She promises to be a voice for all the people. Welcome, Misty. We're so glad you're here. Can you tell us a little bit?
Thank you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Can you tell us a little bit about your campaign?
Well, first of all, I would like to, introduce myself for just a little bit before I go into my platform. I'm a girl I'm a country girl, actually, from Grimes County, Texas, and I currently now been residing in Houston in the Spring area, as a matter of fact, with my husband for going on 22 years, and I have 4 sons. So yes, I am a mother, a very devoted mother, very overbearing and protective mother. So, and then I'm also a paralegal by trade. I'm a published author as well, a businesswoman, community advocate. I'm just a woman who wears many hats. However, even though my schedule is pretty much, busy, I came to realization over the years since I got my bachelor's degree at Texas Southern University in Administration of Justice and also getting my master's in public administration. And, now I'm currently in the doctorate program at Liberty University studying public policy. I came to realization stating, it's about time for me to step into the race, to get out there and do whatever it takes to be the voice for all people. We are very sick and tired of, dealing with the issues, especially here in Texas. I mean, a lot of the bills that are being passed is just, oh my gosh. I just told my husband, I can't sit any longer because I went to school, studied policymaking and regulatory affairs, so why not use what I have learned to go along with the passion I have for the people? So that's the reason why I am running for the Senate, because a lot of people don't understand the branches of our government, even at the state level. You got to understand, Senate is known to interpret the laws, even though in the state of Texas, we do write the laws. We do push the laws in the Senate. But when you look at it at times, it seems like the Senate is the senators are the ones that are more accomplished at pushing bills over than those that are representatives. Representatives still had to send their bill over there to the Senate to review it. And it's the same exact way on the federal level, So I felt like it was time for me to step up and speak out for those that are unheard, those that are oppressed, and those that, like the veterans, it just hurts my heart when I see so many veterans, especially in Austin at the Capitol, that are homeless and they do not know what benefits that are out there, or if they know what the benefits are, how to get it. And the first thing that, Beto had mentioned a while back is like, how can I get the benefits when I don't have a residence? So, of course, that is the issue. We need to find somewhere for those veterans to be taken care of and, to have shelter, get them on their feet for all the things they had done. So my platform focused on education, dealing with the veterans, as well as women's rights, which we already know, dealing with the reproductive rights, the overturn of Roe versus Wade, and the trigger law that just passed, dealing with the ban of abortion here in the state of Texas, regardless of what the circumstances are. I'm very vocal on that, I'm sorry. And then, of course, voting rights. There's a lot of suppressive bills that has been passed over the past months, as a matter of fact, and dealing with the redistricting problem and, mental health. And, those things are very essential to our lives. And so that is the platform that I carry in my campaign. Whatever that affects or that everyone can relate to, that's what I represent and fight for. I'm the problem solver as much as anyone can allow me. They used to tell me up at the school where I used to work at the law school at Texas Southern to stay in my lane. And I was not that type of person. I would do whatever it takes to advocate to make sure my colleagues or students or whoever deserve to get what they're supposed to receive. So that's who I am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We are also joined by Josh Tutt today. Josh Tutt is running for Texas Senate District 18, which covers the northeastern suburbs of Houston down through to Victoria and to west of Corpus Christi. He believes the first step to success is to show up, and the second is to keep on showing up. I like that, Josh. That's great. So Josh, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your platform?
Sure. And thanks for the opportunity. I was a couple minutes late because I just got out of a board meeting where I became the president of my nonprofit, surprisingly. And now I had to find the email. So thanks for saying this. About myself. So I decided to run for office when I woke up cold in my bed last February during the Texas blackout. Shivering in my own bed was the last straw. There were a lot of straws that broke this camel's back, but that was the last one. I'd already known that most of my elected officials in my stretch of rural Texas go unopposed again and again, and that we don't get the choice to vote against them, because you can't vote no on a candidate. You can only vote for an opponent. And so knowing that we weren't going to have the opportunity to speak out against our leaders who had failed us unless somebody ran, knowing that so often nobody's run in my neck of the woods, I decided somebody has to do something about this, and I am somebody. So I decided to do something about it. It was groups like Run for Something to put that bug in my ear for the first time, to consider running for office and to be the change that we wanted to be. So that's why I decided to run, but a little bit more about myself. So I live in Burleson County with my husband, Rick, and our dog, Trinity. We have a vineyard. It's more of an expensive gardening habit than anything at this point. The freeze last year, the rain, the drought, and the heat this year, it's been a rough year for grapes. The birds have had their fill. But that's something that we do. Like I mentioned, I am now president of a nonprofit LGBT Pride Community Center in the Brazos Valley. And I also work in IT and technical support as a computer maintenance technician with the Texas A&M Forest Service. So I get the tech support for Smokey Bear. As a Eagle Scout, that makes me pretty happy to use my computer skills and background to support the forestry industry and wildfire prevention services. So it's a really great fit for me. And so that's a little bit of my personal background. So it's inspired me to run for office as well. So I wasn't keeping track of time, so I don't want to go too over.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. So let me start by asking you all some questions. Just I'm going to take turns asking each of you just one question at a time. We're going to start out with a couple personal things, and then we're going to go straight into some of the issues. So hold on a second. Let's just go. So Misty, SD4 is currently Republican held, and talk to us about how redistricting affected your district and what it means for voters in your district.
That is a very good question. I have discussed that with my campaign members in regards to that, as a lot of people do not know exactly what I had to deal with when it came down to redistricting. At first, based on where I currently stay, where I reside in Spring area, close to 45 North, I was actually in District 7 when I had, applied. And I went to Harris County, and they told me, okay, you're going to have to go to Austin. And I was like, oh, really? And say, yes, you're going to have to go to Austin because you cover, more than Harris County. You got Montgomery County and some Waller. I said, okay, that's no problem. So I left from Harris County, came to Austin. And I say within a week, I got a phone call from the precinct, one of the precinct chairs. And she said, Misty, I hate to tell you this, but after, the bill has passed dealing with the redistricting, and even though we're appealing and all that, you are actually District 4. And I was like, what? I just drove to Austin. She said, yes, you're actually District 4. So I had to go back to Austin to take care of the application and fill it out. And then within January, I get a notification from the Texas Democratic Party in Austin stating that the incumbent has put upon illegal proceedings against me to remove me from the ballot. So it was a very, very strange, beginning running for District 4. It all started with the redistricting, and then now you're challenging me, saying that I was supposed to have a little petition signatures. I have paid the full amount to, of course, run for District 4 as the Democratic candidate. So, at this point, it motivated me even more. Like I told you, after school, I was one of the ones that they was like, you need to stay in your lane. I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep on pushing. And so with this redistricting, it really cut in because, my members were sharp. They were looking at the percentages. And I was like, okay, we really do got a chance because it's a mixture. It's diverse. It's very diverse. Now, they didn't put me in a position where it's controlled by the Republican Party. And I was like, what can I do to reach these people, And so they was like, just be yourself, just, talk to people and get to know what their issues are and all that. So I'm here to say is that, like I stated before, I am for all people, yet I am a Democrat. And I noticed that it's an upward hill for us. It really is. And the percentage versus, Republican versus Democrat in this district, it's like, if I'm not mistaken, it was around 30, almost like 20-some% to like 70% at one point. And then it kind of tried to balance out a little bit more when I got further into Beaumont and Port Arthur area. And then that's when I realized that, okay, I do have a chance. It's just the idea about it, the way they redistrict, it was an upward hill for me. After dealing with what I dealt with, they was really trying to get me out of the primaries before even trying to get to the November election. And I was like, I cannot believe this, so I was waiting, I did decide to wait just a little while to see if they was going to, go through with the appeal and all of that and move forward and to keep me in District 7. But I said to myself, I'm in this fight for everybody. So it doesn't matter at this point, even though the way they designed it is to get leverage. And that, and my grandmother used to say, be careful what you ask for. And they asking for much, but they might, no, it's not no might. They in return, they're going to get less this time. I'm a firm believer of that.
Wow, that was like next level intimidation, wasn't that?
Yes, it was. It was unbelievable because, this is my first time running for any public office, And I was like, because something kept telling me, and I was telling my campaign members, they was like, why don't you just get the signature so you won't have to, pay that large amount of money at one point, And I was like, no, something is telling me to do this because I feel like they're going to try to get me off the ballot. And next thing you know, they did. They were saying that I didn't have enough signatures and I didn't pay the full amount, which I did, And we went to the appeals court and they went to the appeals court and everything. So, but, I'm gracious that, the appeal court, decide that, hey, no, she has all the evidence here that she went ahead and paid for this amount. And she is going to represent the Democratic Party in this district. So wow. I'm still standing.
You absolutely are, Misty. Thank you for still standing, and thank you for continuing on with just running, because it's important. Yes. It takes a lot out of you, and you're the first person that I've talked to so far who's been intimidated at that level from the Republican Party, and that's just wrong. That is not what we do in a democracy, and I'm so sorry that you had to put up with that. So I'm I'm gonna cheer you on, and we're gonna try to get your name out there. Let's see what we can do. So hang in there.
Thank you.
Yes. So Josh, you're an entrepreneur, and what has your venture into business taught you about the process for non-corporate business owners? And what has your entrepreneurship taught you about how to prepare yourself for the Texas Senate?
So I'm going to take it you're talking about the vineyard husband I run, and to call that a business is quite a stretch, unfortunately. Someday we would love it to grow into, a productive, harvest to where we could be a supplier for local Texas wineries, because many wineries, especially Texas, don't grow all their grapes on site, of course. And Texas has, is very particular about what kind of grapes can grow here in our terrain and our soil. As mentioned earlier, it's more of an expensive gardening hobby at this point. It's definitely a labor of love for sure, because it's not a labor of profit quite yet. So I think that the things that I've learned, getting my hands in the dirt here have been super important for the campaign. It's when we started with the vineyard, it was literally just a field of, some trees, stumps and roots, bramble and vines and weeds and all that. Even some old baling twine from ages past when it was cow pasture. And we had to till all that up. We had to break the ground. We had to get all that out. We had to dig the rows. We had to put up the posts and the trellises and the irrigation and all this work. And then we had to do it all over, because the first year it all flooded severely and most of it all died. And so again, we had to learn from these lessons and get new plants to establish, to put down roots well before they ever started to become fruitful. And that's a great analogy for this campaign, and I think for progressive politics. And my stretch of rural Texas, we haven't had a contender on the ballot to run against our incumbents for a long time. We haven't had the work done, people hitting boots on the ground out in rural counties, doing that work to break the ground. And so there's a lot of work. There's an unending amount of work that needs to be done to go from hard packed dirt to something fruitful. And you don't expect it to happen overnight. So I try to operate my campaign with that long-sightedness, that long-term goal in mind. I want to plant seeds that are going to last way longer than my campaign, especially the next. We're down to 50 days now, right? I need what the things that I do to inspire, to ignite, and to last longer than one election cycle. That's something that rural Texas has needed for a long time. I decided to run because my neighbors were deprived of that choice. And I need to make sure that we get that choice again in the future. And with some luck, our neighbors in other counties. I just met last Sunday with somebody who might be considering running for legislature in Brazos County. I'll let them wait to announce before I share anything else, of course, but I'm very excited to help anybody anywhere in rural Texas. Because like Misty was saying, it's difficult running as a first-time candidate, trying to figure these things out when you're unfamiliar. But what you've got is the willingness to share what you do have.
Yeah. Next time around, I really hope that Mothers Against Greg Abbott, we see that so many people who run for office for the first time, we see that you guys need some support, and you guys really need just more details on how to do this and how to do this well, even like a checklist, just something to kind of help you all out. There aren't enough resources for you guys. So we're going to try to produce some of them, hopefully, after November. Let me just get through November, and then after that, we'll talk.
I love that.
Yeah, just anything, because anything can help. So let's do a little lightning round on some positions. And we are going to start with our first position is, what is your platform going into the November election on gun safety here in Texas and gun laws? So we'll start with Misty.
Ooh, I'm glad you asked that. That's one of the things that I really stressed. I've been stressing that ever since I was a student at Texas Southern University. Because you got to understand, when back in 1997 is when I had graduated from high school, and I remember Columbine. And next thing you know, while working, here comes Sandy. the incident that happened at Sandy Hook, and then it just started happening more frequently in the millennium, and I was like, okay, well, what do we need to do here? And then all of a sudden in May, and I remember I had discussed, I did a YouTube presentation in regards to mass shooting, because, we had the incident that happened in Buffalo, it happened at the grocery store. They was like right behind each other. And I remember saying something that really spooked a lot of my members. I said, and it's going to keep on happening. The next time we're going to hear something happen here in Texas. And I did not know we was going to experience the loss of so many students in Uvalde. And the way the governor and the law enforcement handled that situation, it really brought nothing but tears in my eye. I said, it's something we got to do. And, on my platform, like I said, I really focus more on education. It's not just only, making sure the students get the proper teachings and the adequate resources, but I have something called Academic Shield. And in Academic Shield is to protect our children, protect our teachers, and protect our administrators from anything like that happening again and again and again. I am aware that there's I think it's a town in Texas called Louisville. And one of my members has shared this with me in regards how they managed to, keep people out that they think that they might harm the staff and harm the students. They actually have cameras in the hallways. They have like a little button on their necklace where they push if they feel like there's harm or something like that, they can push it. Just like at the bank, they have a panic button. And so that's what I want to bring in to the Senate, is to make sure these schools are well equipped when it comes down to security. And not just saying, okay, yeah, we're going to have because they said installing more metal detectors and all that. But in elementary schools, it does not exist. You could just walk in there, and it seems like that is the main target, is the elementary schools, And so I was like, you need to spread it across elementary school all the way through, through college. However, with the gun safety, I would say, yes, we can move the age up, but the problem is these gun sellers that are selling these guns are not doing a thorough background check. And I think there should be testing involved, psychological testing on a person who is purchasing a gun. I think we should go back and make sure people are licensed to carry, and not just be able to carry a weapon whenever they feel like it. We have dealt with a lot of issues that has caused people to have mental breakdown. So why would you allow people to walk around with a weapon at this time, And so I believe, 21, yes, because we did that with the alcohol. But we also need to look at the sellers and, put some restrictions on them, how they sell those guns and what type of guns they sell to civilians. And that's how I feel about, dealing with gun safety. I would try to pass a bill to make sure that, we would not experience what we have experienced over the past 10, 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much. Josh?
To sum it up shortly, so my policy is summarized as promoting responsible gun ownership. So I think that we have unfortunately strayed pretty far from that. And so coming back to a place of responsible gun ownership, doing things like requiring safety and legal training and certification is a requirement that even many police unions across Texas were in favor of retaining that. It makes their jobs harder on the streets to have permitless carry in place. I want to see things like Texas keep up with the federal government's action, closing the boyfriend loophole and things of that nature that help protect domestic abuse victims and help to prevent these situations when somebody has been convicted or stalking, domestic abuse. I want to promote things like incentivize or even subsidize safe storage practices. One common argument against gun regulation is that the biggest cause of gun deaths is actually suicide or accidental deaths in the home. And I'm like, great, not great, but like, okay, deal, let's fix it. Let's work on. We've identified a target area that we can work on together, right? Unfortunately, you don't see a lot of action from the detractors on that front. But I think that if we promote things like safe storage, by even providing safe storage equipment like trigger locks or storage cabinets, et cetera, that can help tremendously to improve accountability, reduce people get access to a firearm that's not theirs, that they're not supposed to have, and by preventing people who are known to be violent individuals from accessing firearms again.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about another topic. Would you all like to do in your platform to better quality the life of all Texans? And what are your plans for change in this area? Like, what could you do to create a better life for Texans if you were voted into office? Let's start with Misty.
Well, we have so many issues that we have to deal with here in the state of Texas. Anywhere from, like we had stated, dealing with gun safety, education, and of course, cannot forget about minimum wage, because as you can see, we're dealing with inflation. We just recently here in Houston, we're starting to see the gas prices dropping. I don't know how it is in Austin, but I know we're finally seeing it dropping. However, the products are still high. And the first thing that I would try to do is to make sure we will look into the economy and try to catch up with the inflation. Because I just recently read, dealing with the minimum wage, we have still been sitting on $7.25. And then we have people that are considered to, the waiters and waitress. And this is what I experienced just a few minutes, I guess you could say a few days ago. I asked a gentleman who had served us at a restaurant, and he said he only get paid $4 an hour. And that's because he's a tipped employee. How in the world could a person survive that? Because not everybody is going to tip the individual that he brings their food to and that he waits on, And that's the first thing I will make sure that, everybody will have a chance to have, when it comes down to cost of living, to have a chance to actually live somewhat comfortable, because you got to think about healthcare. You're dealing with health insurance. That's another thing that we have to attack. They try to stop the Medicaid expansion for those that are not able to afford healthcare insurance, So we need to make sure we keep that extended, for those that are not able to. And then, of course, when, like I said, with the education, make sure that the students are being taught, actually being taught not just a Pacific heritage, but everyone. If you call America a melting pot, diversity, it's time to teach all cultures to the students so they can be able to respect one another. When you tend to break away from that, it causes other people to continue to divide. We're trying to bridge the gap, but y'all actually keeping the gap. And it runs down into the economy, when that happens. And a lot of people do not see that. That's why I always state education is the foundation for all systems. If you realize how we are teaching our children, because when they become grown, then they go into the world and they do what they're taught. And so, you have to deal with the justice system. You have to deal with, the housing. You have to deal with the reform of immigration. You have to deal with all of that. And without education, none of those systems will be designed. And of course, if it is corrupt, we need to fix it. We need to find a solution. So like I stated before, we have so many issues that are out there for us to fix. But the only thing I can say as an advocate, I will make sure I will listen to the people and not just turn my head and just follow on my interests, but to actually do something for everyone where, of course, we'll be able to function, and receive our basic needs.
Great. Thank you. Josh?
Mm-hmm.
My top 3 platform priorities are to invest in rural infrastructure, especially the power grid, modernizing it for our growing population, funding public education, and expanding healthcare access, especially expanding Medicaid to support rural Texas. And I picked those 3 platform priorities, and I built my platform based off of what I was hearing from my neighbors in my district. That's what I heard when I went out and I was doing that early kind of investigation as to what my people or my neighbors need. That's how I decided to build my platform. And it wasn't just my favorite topics. Those are my top 3 priorities that I make sure folks know about me whenever I go. And those things will help my district. In rural Texas, oftentimes these small towns have one school. Thus, the public school is the beating heart of our communities. And it's important that they be funded, the teachers respected and empowered, and that they have the supplies that they need. I talked to a teacher once locally who said that they were using their personal funds for lots of things. And I asked for examples, and they said water bottles and snacks for when they were in lockdown for 2 hours and they needed something to feed the students because they were hungry. And we're in overlapping issues here. We can fix a lot of public education with robust funding. We can address a lot of rural healthcare needs by Medicaid expansion, and we can fix a lot of concern and anxiety by modernizing our grid to prepare for the future, giving us a robust energy portfolio that anticipates our growing population. Future winter storms and severe high temperatures during the summer aside, which obviously that's not aside, that's a fact of the future as well. Our population is just growing at a significant rate, and we got to keep up. We got to be prepared. So those are the 3 priorities I have for my community in my district.
That's great. Both of you all live in areas that are kind of being hit in the education area with like the critical race theory, the book banning, all that stuff, and then combine it with the fact that you both also have rural areas that are part of your district. And those rural areas might lose their public schools because the far right are trying to create a voucher system. So I wanted to see where your positions were on saving public schools and vouchers, so we can talk about that for a minute. So we'll go right ahead. Let's start with you, Josh, since you're already you just went. So let's start with you.
Public funds should go to public schools, period. I am against any and all voucher and or scholarship type programs that siphon public funds from public schools and deliver them to private and or religious institutions. That sounds scripted because it's important enough that I get it right. And that I mean it every time. Mm-hmm. So I think that the state of Texas has a constitutional obligation to provide excellent public health care. Sorry, my dog is knocking into my light stand. Sorry. But we have an obligation to provide the best possible public education for our entire population. And we have not lived up to that standard for quite a while, unfortunately. I think we have the opportunity. We have the acute need. We have the spotlight on it. We know that we need to. We just need the willpower in office to execute and to do so. And it's an investment in our future that we can't afford to pass on towards the next legislative cycle or on to the next generation. We can't afford to continue failing for that long into the future. Private and or charter schools are often not held to the same standards as public schools. And while they can, of course, operate, and sometimes they're an important part of communities too, the state has an obligation to provide public school services. And that is where our funding should go to.
Great. Thank you so much. Misty, your turn. Did you hear me, Misty?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
okay.
you.
All right, you're up next.
Yes, and Josh did make some valid points in regards to public education, and I always stress that every parent wants their child to get the best education. Every parent wants to have their child to get the best education. And what we need to do is to do whatever it takes to make sure that child gets what they deserve to have. And I just cannot put my finger around while there is so much funding that is out there to make sure these students in the public schools are able to have adequate resources. I remember at times when I was speaking to my members, I said, is there a way that I can see the actual budget that the state has? I mean, the overall state, not just the school board that have the school budget. I'm talking about like the state. You're seeing where the funding is going from. Because I know Josh is probably aware, dealing with the lottery, because they stated that money was going to be going to the education. The Department of Education would trickle down to the public schools. It did not say that it was going to the charter schools or the private schools. And so I was just trying to realize, how in the world can we decide what we need to do to make sure we can save these schools? Because when you take away from, and like I said, the education is the foundation of every system. If you take away that school in that area, the community will continue to fall down, And so as a candidate, and hopefully I would get into office, I would stress that more, and I would look at the budget that they do have in place and seeing exactly how much money should be dispersed into public education, because it seems like you had stated before, they're streamlining to do away from public education. But a lot of people are not going to be able to get into those private schools. They're not, because it's based on academics, how you perform in the classroom. And then what's going to happen to the student? Then the student is going to be left out. And then next thing you know, they're going to say, oh, well, it's most likely he's going to get in trouble. He or she is going to get in trouble and get into the justice system. So right now it's very crucial for us as Democrats to really stand up and make sure our students, our children receive the public education that they're supposed to receive. And it hurts to say this, but they have taken counselors out of the schools here in some of the districts. They have one or two counselors, and that counselor has to jump from one campus to another. That's not how it's supposed to be done. I always knew that school counselors always have to be there just in case the student needs someone to talk to and to advise them what classes they need to take, and let them know where they stand in the academia. So and then it's been told to me, dealing with the libraries. I've been at schools where they didn't even have hardly any books. They didn't even hardly have any computers, And here you're telling me you're going to decide to do a voucher to take them to another school where they're not welcome to be there. Most likely they're going to be turned away. They tell me, no, they're not yet. Most likely they will, because they're going to come to a certain capacity and they're going to turn some of those students away. And that is not fair. That's not how it's supposed to be done. So yes, we need to do whatever it takes to save public education and make sure our students are taken care of, along with the teachers getting paid according to their job description. Because without them, without the teachers there, as you already know, there is a shortage right now because of the pay and the scrutiny that these teachers are going through. And I was telling one of my members, they should be almost up to six figures because of what they have to deal with, And without them, we would not have doctors, we would not have lawyers, we would not have engineers. We would not be here, in this type of position if it wasn't for the teachers. So yes, I vote for public education all the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So our next topic, did you answer? You did. Did you answer or did I skip you? I don't know. You did, right? Okay.
I started on that one.
Okay, that's right. Okay. I'm like, I just want to make sure because every once in a while I forget. And I'm just making sure that we got to everyone. Okay. So next question is, during this administration with Greg Abbott, there have been so many attacks on the LGBTQ community, and it is really bothersome. So I wanted to ask each of you your opinions and your viewpoints on what is happening right now with the LGBTQ community, protecting their personal freedoms and their rights, and what we can do to also protect the trans children right now that are being attacked. I mean, they're children and they're being attacked by our leaders. It's just very wrong in every way. So let's go right ahead and we'll start with Josh.
So this is a lot of the fire behind my reasons for running for office. I mentioned the last straw being the blackout, but several tons of the previous straws are in this regard. I am running to hopefully be the first openly LGBTQ plus state senator in Texas history for a reason. I'm running against an opponent who has spearheaded many of the anti-trans legislation bills of the last several cycles, the anti-trans sports bills, the gender affirming care bills, the anti-trans bathroom bills of 2017 that brought Texas a lot of international shame. I firmly believe that the actions of Governor Abbott's administration, as well as the past several years of the legislature, has created such an environment. I have talked to way too many of my siblings in the LGBT community who have talked about that depending on how this election goes, they've got plans to move, to leave because their safety's on the line. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that they're exaggerating. It is dire. At the Texas Democratic Convention, at the Stonewall Democrats Caucus, it was Julie Johnson, a state representative, who got up and said that this next session is going to be dire. I may be misquoting. I'm so sorry. I think it may have been Ann Johnson who said that it's going to be dire this next session. No matter how it's made up, if we don't have enough fighters to stop everything in its tracks up there, it's going to get worse for me and for my family and for my siblings. I am involved with the LGBT nonprofit. I've done HIV STI awareness and prevention training and education. I've done adult-oriented safe-sex education, consent-based education, relationship education. This is what I do. And we need somebody to get up there and to say, like, you are wrong. And I am the one qualified to tell you that to some of these individuals who are making these decisions. And as a state senator in Texas, we get the power of the filibuster, specifically a standing filibuster. So unlike in the federal Congress, you actually have to stand on your feet, like in the nature of Wendy Davis or Senator Carol Alvarado, and run your mouth the whole time. And if I can do anything, I can monologue. That's something that I'm good at. And I will use any tool at my disposal to stop these bills from hurting my community further and further. You wanted specific actions, not just a passionate rant, though. I want to stop DFPS from investigating families for providing gender affirming care. I want to stop the Attorney General's office from being able to pursue those types of investigations as well. I want to free our healthcare workers up from obligation to report those things. I want to make sure that teachers are never required to tell parents about a student who's chosen to use different pronouns or change their name in a classroom, and to prevent anything close to a Don't Say Gay bill from happening in Texas, as I'm worried will happen and has been indicated will happen. And I want to change the state constitution so that way same-sex marriage is recognized no matter what happens in the Supreme Court. That's a few answers. I could go on for too long, but I'm going to pause there. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it. All right, Misty, it's your turn.
I want to applaud Josh. I tell you, Josh, that I've seen a lot of people who have really got attacked over the years, and it's not right. It's not right. We who are we to judge? And that's my philosophy. Everybody has a right to do what their heart desired for them to do. And I the way Abbott and the Republican Party is really attacking you guys is I just really and truly, at times I'm very speechless because I cannot believe someone would attack a child. That is not their place. It's not their place. And I got to say, if we both get into the Senate, we will fight together to make sure, to protect y'all rights. We are all in this together, and we have to learn how to work together, regardless what the sexual orientation is or your gender identity that you decide to be. That is your decision, not the government's decision on how you treat it like that. It's all about protecting our rights as a human being. And, like I said, my heart goes out to you because I have seen so many friends of mine who have dealt with so much over the years. It used to cause me just to fall down and cry because, when it gets to the point when the families, is kind of divided into the situation. Then here you go with the government. It's like, no, this is not how we're supposed to treat each other at all. It's not. It's not. You are a citizen just like I'm a citizen, regardless, what your orientation is and what your gender identity is, what your race is and what your religion is. That is not our place to do such things. Like Dr. King did say, it's all about the character in the content of how people present themselves. It's not based on the choices that your personal choices should not affect your work ethics, and that's the way the government is pointing to it. I'm talking about the state of Texas. We got other states that are backing you guys up. But here in the state of Texas, they do not see it. They do not see it because they don't want to see it. And for us, Democrats, we need to stick together and push through to make sure everyone will receive the same treatment, and that is respect. And what you guys are not receiving is respect. And I'm a firm believer that, that is our job as senators to make sure every person's right is protected.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There isn't that much time left. We have a little bit over 5 minutes, but I wanted to talk about SB8, Dobbs, and abortion, what your positions are on that, because it's also one of our top positions in Mothers Against Greg Abbott. Now, if you all could keep your answers limited to like a minute, that'd be great. So let's go right ahead, and we'll just start with Misty. Just really quick, what is your position on SB8 and Dobbs?
When it comes, like I said, with the abortion, women's rights, reproductive rights, this is our body, okay? And you don't know what we're going through, and if there is a health issue that is coming about, or there's a child unexpectedly get pregnant due to rape or incest, the government should not play a role to make a person to carry that child, and I'm a firm believer that, it is our right, it is our bodies. We do according to how we think our bodies should be treated. And I just want everybody to know, I am an advocate for people to receive and to get what they deserve to receive. And if they feel like they're being threatened or their rights are being violated, I am the candidate to be in there to represent them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Josh, your turn.
I believe that all Texans, all Americans should have access to safe and legal abortion access. It should be a decision between a patient and their doctor, not meddlesome lawmakers, especially not, cisgender, gay men like myself, who have no business making these decisions. I will do everything I can to protect bodily autonomy and hold it sacred. I grew up in a conservative Christian household, and I grew up with a different belief about abortion. So I've had a lot to learn on this pathway to get to where I am today. And I've learned a lot by listening to stories. too many stories, and never enough at the same time. And so if there's anything that I can do to be an advocate and to use my voice and platform to protect bodily autonomy, that's what I'm going to do. I was advised to not talk too much about abortion on the trail, especially in this rural red district. I'm not running to do what's strategic. I'm doing what's right and to give my neighbors the choice they deserve. And they deserve a pro-choice option on the ballot this year. And they have one. My opponent's one of the co-sponsors of SD18. It's one of her proudest achievements. And I think it's time for her to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I really just want to thank you all so much for coming today and coming on Mothers Against Greg Abbott. I will give each of you all 2 minutes each. One of them is to say anything that you haven't said. You're welcome to say now, and I'll give you guys a couple minutes each. And then also tell us where we could find you all and where you need the most support. So let's go right ahead, and we will start with Misty.
Well, make it short and very sweet. And I want to thank you guys for inviting me to speak up on your platform. Like I stated before, I am the advocate for all people. Whatever issues or anything that you want me to discuss with you, me and you can work together. That's how I look. We are a team. We are one. And as your candidate, and hopefully will be your senator, I will do whatever it takes to make sure you get exactly what you need. Exactly what you need. And like I stated in my campaign is that liberty is freedom, liberty is equality, liberty is justice, and liberty is pursuit for happiness. Because we're not in happiness right now, especially in the state of Texas. We need to work together in order to make progress. Because when we don't work together, we continue to slide backwards and do not get anything done. And as your candidate, I will be your voice, and I want you to utilize your voice at these polls. And
Great.
you can reach me at www.misty, MISTY, 4, TX, Senate, SENATE.com. You can also see me on Facebook as Misty Bishop for Tex Senate 2022, or on Instagram as well as Twitter. That's how you can reach me.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, Josh.
I will try to fit this all into 2 minutes. The first thing is the obvious thing I'm going to ask for. If anybody is in a position to make a contribution, consider doing so. Candidates sometimes don't get as much support as folks may expect, especially down ballot, especially first time, especially working class candidates. Even $1 really does help. And it's because it helps to show the breadth of support and bring down that average. And those are important statistics for grassroots campaigns. So if you can give $1, not just to me and to Misty, but to your favorite local candidate, just all of them, just $1. That's all I'm asking. I hope that you consider doing so and supporting them in that way. So the second thing I have is to tell folks about me, about us, about candidates that you like. Spreading that word is the most important thing. In fact, there's a word for this: relational organizing. Talking to your friends, to your family, to your coworkers, to your uncle, et cetera. That's one of the most powerful things you can do. It's quite literally the people power, right? I can send as much money as I want on ads or knock on doors or text bank, phone bank. But it's not, I'm just some guy, right? You are a relative, a friend. They care about you. And that's persuasion that I can never meet. So do go through your phone list and look at it. If you go to my pages, you'll find me talking a lot about 2 million Texans. It's a program using the Reach app to help you look through your contacts on your phone to who's voted already, who hasn't, and it helps you to have those conversations. So I encourage you to join that project. I'm not running it. I'm advocating for it because it will help the entire state. And maybe it'll help my campaign a little bit too. Because what helps all of us, right? Second thing is run for office. Anyone who's listening to this, somebody needs to run for office. Why not you? You're more qualified than you think you are. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You can do it. We'll help you. So you won't have to do it by yourself. There's first-time candidates all over the place who will be happy to help. Organizations like Blue Horizons Texas, who've got my back, they'll be happy to be there for you too. And message me anytime. So I'm online on tuttfortexas.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So just know if you ever have any questions.
Okay, great. So thank you all. Thank you so much for coming on with Mothers Against Greg Abbott tonight. I really appreciate seeing you all here. Just to let you guys know, I think we are endorsing both of you all, so you'll be getting some endorsement graphics coming soon. So thank you guys for coming on with Mothers Against Greg Abbott, and be on the lookout for some graphics. Where our graphics are running a little bit behind, but we'll be getting those out in the next few days. We just on-ramped a new graphic artist, so we're trying to catch up right now. So thank you very, very much for all your time and for being here with us tonight. I hope you all have a great evening,